What's up, guys? This is Javier. Sorry for being in selfie mode, but my roommates don't know how to keep promise, and you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm currently at the Morningside Nature Park to get a better look into what makes up a sandhill ecosystem. So I'll just give you a little panorama of that. I'm sure most of us remember because we were pretty much at this exact same spot. But so sandhill forests are upland savanna-like habitats that it used to cover about 20 million acres of Florida, but now it's down to about 3% of that, with most of it being in the Panhandle and North Florida. Panhandle, North Florida, and Central Florida. They are known for their deep, sandy, well-drained soil that is poor in nutrients. Sandhills are fire dependent, and I actually have a tree right here that you can see was very burnt to a crisp. They have a fire occurrence rate of about 2 to 5 years, which the species have adapted to, such as the wiregrass. It won't bloom until there's enough heat of a fire for it to bloom and reproduce. Now I'm going to talk about some of the different species in sandhill ecosystems. I'll start with the overstory, which consists of an open canopy made up of longleaf pines. Those are distinguishable by their thumb-like twigs, and they come in the pom-poms have needles in groups of 3 only, unlike the slash pine that has 2 or 3. The mid-story for sandhill ecosystems is pretty small. It has growing longleaf pines that haven't reached full maturity yet. It has, you can see here, sand oak, and my favorite, get over here, it has these nice turkey oaks. They can be pretty small, and sometimes they can get a little bit bigger. This big one right over there. The understory of the sandhill ecosystem is very dense with herbaceous grass, such as the wiregrass. You can see here that it is just covered in it. There's also non-herbaceous species, such as the saw palmetto, that create, when dry, they create nice tinder for the fires that are needed to maintain the ecosystem. So sandhill ecosystems are maintained with fires that are usually prescribed every 1 to 3 years, which reduces the amount of ground litter, which you can tell it has a lot of ground litter, so they need to stop it from getting too much. And also it helps keep the hardwoods from growing out of control and stealing all the sunlight from the understory and the midstory. So that was my video on sandhill ecosystems, and next time catch me at Austin Carey Forest for flatwoods. Now I've made my way to Austin Carey Forest to see what a pines flatwood ecosystem looks like. So I'll give you a nice little overview. So flatwoods are known as the biggest ecosystem in Florida, covering about 50% of undeveloped land, and stands here are so large that other ecosystems are usually scattered within them. Soils are moderate to poorly drained, fine sands, which are usually acidic and low on nutrients. Because the topography is flat, during the rainy seasons, like right now, there can be standing water, which attributes to poor soil, and during the dry season, the water at the bottom of the soil cannot reach the top because it's so sandy and well drained. So it causes drought conditions. Infrequent fires caused by lightning and humans is another disturbance regime of flatwoods, which the species have adapted to, just like in sandhills. So to start with the overstory, just like the sandhill, it is open and dominated by pines, but unlike them, it's got a variation of pines such as the slash, longleaf, and loblolly, which you can differentiate by different things such as twig size, by pine cones, and also by the number of needles per fascicle. The midstory of flatwoods can sometimes be infrequent and scattered, which behind me you can see there's not much, but on this side there's a good amount of midstory, so it varies. But usually it's scattered with trees like red maple, sweet gum, and right behind me we have a water oak, which you can tell by the spatula shaped leaves. For the understory of flatwoods, it's dense with bushes and shrubs like the saw palmetto, the wax myrtle, and I have right here some gallberry, which you can tell by the teeth at the end of the leaf. Though flatwoods naturally burn every 3 to 5 years, there's been research and evidence that's shown prescribing burns every 1 to 3 years is necessary to maintain the ecosystem. And here you can see a slash pine that has been burned recently. Now I'm going off to see some upland hardwoods. For my last community to explore, I chose the upland hardwoods of San Francisco State Park. So here we go. So, upland hardwoods are usually found on slopes and bluffs near flatwood or sandhill ecosystems, and they usually replace those ecosystems as fire in the area becomes more infrequent. The soil is mostly sand with some clay, and it is well drained with a layer of limestone underneath. The fire frequency of upland hardwoods is very low, so the species haven't really adapted to be fire dependent, and when a rare fire does occur, it becomes very difficult for those plants to regrow in the area. The major disturbance for upland hardwoods is actually humans, whether it's for logging or being flattened for development. As you can see, the canopy of the upland hardwoods is a bit different from the sandhill and the flatwoods, as it is quite closed, and although it does include some pines, it is much more diverse in that it has some southern magnolia, sweet gum, and even live and laurel oak. The mid-story of the upland hardwoods is a bit bigger than those of the sandhill and the flatwood ecosystem. It's made up of younger canopy species like the sweet gum I have right behind me, which you can tell by its star-shaped leaves, and also tall shrubs such as the red bay, winged elm, and eastern hophornbeam. As you can see, the understory of the upland hardwoods is not nearly as dense as the sandhill and the flatwood ecosystems, and is mostly made up of shade-tolerant herbs and shrubs like sassafras and saw palmetto. As I said before, fire is not a major disturbance to upland hardwoods. Humans are, so the best way to maintain an upland hardwood ecosystem is to make sure that fires do not get too big that it destroys the forest and doesn't allow it to regrow, and also by not destroying the forest for development or for timber. Glad I got to go on this adventure through a couple different ecosystems with you guys, and I'll see you next year.